You know, I was preparing to watch the Lupin TV specials for the next ranking video. I already watched the first one and then wrote a review of it, and then saved it to my documents. Only to discover the Lupin Babylon document was there and I completely forgot about it. A review that was supposed to be included in the part 3 video but was cut out because, well, it was a long time ago, I don't remember. I'll do this video now and get it over and done with before I forget about it again. Lupin III, The Legend of the Gold of Babylon was released in Japanese theatres on the 13th of July 1985. It was produced by TMS, Nippon TV and Yomiuri TV. The latter was the channel that broadcasted Part 3. Lupin is on a quest for the secret treasure originally residing in ancient Babylon. The only clues he have that may aid him are some stone tablets and an alcoholic elderly woman named Rosetta. But Lupin also has to deal with a mob gang run by Marciano and his assistant Kowalski, who too are looking for said treasure, with Marciano being emotionally motivated to find it. Meanwhile, Pops tries to catch Lupin once more but fails, resulting in him being demoted to promote a Miss ICPO beauty contest. But after a severe woman moment, Pops is tasked with capturing Lupin once again, but this time with the help of some of the female contestants and a team up of a harem that would make the thief jealous. This movie is a celebration of what Part 3 stands for. It looks great as usual, but in terms of the plot, it's a bloomin' mess, not to mention convoluted with its many unfocused or abandoned plot points. This is Part 3 but with a slightly larger budget, yet the animation is near enough the same as the TV series, which is unacceptable for a theatrical film. The character designs follow the same loose cartoony vibe that appeals to me, and some characters have a different colour scheme, like Jigen going back to his black suit and Pops reverting back to his brown suit and trench coat. The movie's biggest weakness is the plot. As an experience, you might enjoy the thrills and spills of it all. The chases have huge energy to it, and the action is great and fun to watch. The problem is, it feels like there's too much going on, with some chases either happening for the sake of it, or going on longer than it needed to be. The Lupin Pops motorcycle chase around the Big Mama face admittedly went on for way too long, so it has some pacing issues. Not all the time, but you do feel it when it happens. In terms of the main plot involved in the Babylon, I liked it. At least it was somewhat easier to follow this time round than Mamo. The focus, when it has some, revolves around Lupin trying to steal something, which wasn't the main focus in Mamo or Cagliostro. Oh, the old lady Rosetta, following Lupin around from time to time wanting to smash. Because horny old people are supposed to be funny? Master Roshi, she ain't. It's one of those plots where the reveals get stranger and stranger, and then we find out that the Tower of Babel is the big treasure that Lupin wants, Rosetta is an alien who's been tasked with finding said tower for many years, the god who told the Babylonians to build the tower picked it up and accidentally dropped it back to Earth creating America. As you do. Also, according to this movie, God is an alien from outer space.
Nigga, what the fuck?
But hey, it could have been weirder. We could have had Mamoru Oshii's ideas, including one where Lupin had a very small presence, or the one about an architect who built the Tower of Babel and then committed Canadian healthcare after finishing it, and then Lupin steals a fossil of an angel. And his other, most bizarre idea was Lupin being much older, much depressed, accidentally nuking Tokyo, as you do, finding out he was a fictional character and tried to enter the real world. You know, considering how Part 3 was borderline mediocre, you should have let him cook. But don't worry, his rejected ideas will be used in other anime projects, most notably Angel's Egg. Oh, and to add that cherry on top, he was recommended by Hayao Miyazaki after declining to direct another Lupin movie. Either he really thought Oshii could evolve the series to something entirely different, or he was trolling hard. I'm betting it was the latter. That is just too funny. In fact, because his weird ideas got rejected, Oshii left the project, and TMS replaced him with Atsushi Yamatoya and Yoshio Urasawa to write for the film, both of them previously working on the Lupin parts, with Yamatoya working on all three at that point. Though this sudden change up in short notice was probably the reason for the problematic production. Oh, did you know this movie was directed by both Seijin Suzuki and Shigetsugu Yoshida, with Suzuki writing Part 3 Episode 13, Overdoing Masquerade Composition, an episode that made absolutely no sense. I know writing a story and directing one is completely different, and despite Yoshida doing most of the heavy lifting, Suzuki loves the weird shit and I'm going to point at him. Again, there's too much here and some elements don't get a satisfying conclusion, like the antagonist Marciano. He acts like a slick guy with a threatening aura, but crumples like a blooming crouton when he realizes Lupin wants back the golden lion he took from Babylon. I'm sure he'd be good friends with Ron. We don't really get to see what he's actually capable of, nor does he have much of a presence to make him memorable. And to make things worse, his assistant, Kowalski, kills him at almost the hour-and-a-half-minute mark. So now Kowalski is the new antagonist, which is stupid because he has the vibe of a henchman than an actual villain. I know he had more of a presence than Marciano and took more action throughout the movie, but he's not interesting enough to be considered a proper antagonist. The movie spent all that time building this Marciano guy up, and he's just wasted for this henchman. And to make this far more pointless than it possibly can, even he gets killed off by Lupin as quickly as he started to become the second main antagonist. What was the point of Marciano and even Kowalski? What about Marciano's other henchmen? They have a big presence in the movie as well, but they disappear near the end. Oh, what about Pops' police harem? Do you want a bunch of women representing different countries and end up being backbendingly stereotypical, like the blonde American Caramel, the Chinese Chinchao, the strong Russian Zakskaya, the exotic African Saranda, and some Italian woman named Lasagna because the writers gave up? Also, do you want them to have little to no personality and feel pointless to the overall plot? No? Well, too bad you're getting that. And suddenly they grow to hate Pops, but that never gets a proper conclusion. So when you think about it, what was the point with these women other than for chase scenes? No, your harem is supposed to love you and care for you and fight each other for you. What the heck are you doing wrong, Pops? Oh, what about Chinchao developing a crush on Goemon, and the samurai feels the same way? Yep, that too never gets a proper conclusion. Fujiko works with Marciano at the beginning, but that never goes anywhere. She's later kidnapped by Marciano, and that has no impact on the plot. Fujiko ends up with this black guy, and I'm only showing this for this particular joke. The ending is as bizarre as Part 3 ever gets. Lupin defying God and Rosetta and trying to take the Tower of Babel back from her is pure mad lad energy that will leave you laughing at the thought of his madness and or sheer bewilderment. Yeah, this movie had a rushed and messy production on account of the fact that some of the Part 3 staff, including Yuzo Oki, the art director of the series, were also working on this movie. And considering it was released at a time when the series was nearing its end, I'm surprised the movie was released in a somewhat completed state at all, which I do admire. But the movie is still a bloody mess. The music by Yuji Ono is pretty good, 80s synth and all, but we will not disrespect Manhattan Joke in this house. Seriously though, that shit slaps. We also get an 80s rendition of the Part 2 theme and... yeah, it sure is an 80s rendition. Where was Sexy Adventure, by the way? Overall, The Legend of the Gold of Babylon is a fun and entertaining movie, but it feels like a Part 3 episode with extra nonsense added in, oftentimes lacking focus, and it's not tightly written like Cagliostro, nor does it feel like a fresh experience like Mamo. It's a solid representation of the TV series it's based off, but being a solid representation of Part 3 isn't entirely a good thing. But if you like Part 3, you'll love this movie. As for me, I like its style, its action, and some of the more bizarre elements. But I wouldn't come back to it for its story anytime soon, if ever. If you want to get it and you're from the US of A, Discotek Media released it on DVD and Blu-ray, which includes an English dub by the Part 2 cast minus Dan Lorge, now replaced by Doug Erholtz. And once again, nothing for the UK. Well, kind of. Supposedly there was a VHS release of the movie we got in 1995, though it's a sub-release. I feel I've said enough about this movie, time to move on to the TV specials. See you soon. Hopefully.
Hey,